Ayo, lucky listeners, episode 60 is brought to you by Charm ND. Today's episode, we had on an incredible guest. We had Thomas McCabe on to speak about Notre Dame of old, as he was a 1987 graduate, and also Notre Dame of now, how the football team is progressing, how the university is growing, how his impact and his time at Notre Dame has given him, a platform to be able to help and inspire people. He works with many different businesses as interim CFO and doing turnarounds for all these different companies. He's a special guy. He's super, super enthusiastic about his life. He's ready to go each and every day. He is a consummate Notre Dame guy that wants to be able to build and grow the community just like I do. We get into so many fun topics, but please enjoy this episode and keep living the luck management lifestyle. Ayo, welcome back to the Luck Management Podcast with your host, Carter Loesch. Today is October 25th, 2023, and we have an extremely special episode today. It is episode 60 of the Luck Management Podcast of the Luck Management Lifestyle. I can't believe that I've been able to make it this far, but we have a special episode presented by Charm ND. We have Thomas McCabe on the podcast today, a Notre Dame 1987 graduate, a Domer through and through in our previous conversations, just hearing about how much you love Notre Dame. He owns his own consulting firm, and he's been working as a CFO for many different companies. He's heavily involved in the Notre Dame Idea Center. An avid businessman and somebody that I think that we can learn a ton of cool and interesting information about. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Carter. Happy to be here. Happy to be here this Wednesday. And I'll start it off by saying, big week, go be Pitt. Now let's proceed with the podcast. Got to get that in there.
Honestly, it's always the first order of business. Notre Dame football, got to get the wins. Got 6-2. Let's start there. How have you enjoyed the season so far?
Yeah, the season's actually playing out about the way I would have thought. I have friends from the mid 80s when I graduated, and we're kind of like high schoolers. The week before games, we all do our predictions before the season, mid-season. And my belief was that we were going to lose 2 games, but I thought we'd lose to 2 of the 3 top teams that were originally on our schedule. It would either be USC, Clemson. And of course, we have now found out that it's never what you think it is in August when USC was ranked top 5. If we win out, and I'm going to roll the dice and say we will, at least my wins and losses will come to fruition, but who I thought we were going to lose to will not. I'm happy with the progress. I'm happy with the bounce back. I was very disappointed after the Louisville loss, but I give Marcus and the team credit for resiliency because they figured out how to game plan and scheme against USC. I make most every home game, try to do a road trip. I've got a wedding this weekend. I will not be at the Pitt game. I'll be watching and sneaking it during the wedding on my iPhone, but I'm pretty sure we'll take care of Pitt and keep rolling.
So funny enough, I have a wedding this weekend as well, and my parents got tickets to go up. And so
there you go. They'll be your eyes and ears.
They'll be the eyes and ears. It's one of my best friends. He's getting married, and I'll be having the phone kind of on the side, just a little bit right there. It's a Saturday.
Can I tell you a 1-minute side story on that?
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough to have married my Notre Dame marching band college sweetheart, Karen, who was St. Mary's Piccolo. And we got married pretty much right after we both graduated in 87. Little did we know that when we set our wedding date for November 25th, 1988, and we got married in Lake Forest, Illinois, it was probably one of the top 5 non-championship games in Notre Dame history, where Notre Dame, in my words, we weren't favored, upset USC, and went on to win the national championship. Now, why is that momentous? Number one, we haven't won a championship since. So
Yeah,
basically, in your lifetime,
I,
sort of.
that is one thing. So I have watched 26 years of Notre Dame football, and I have seen some amazing, incredible moments. Manti Te'o
Yeah,
making college football playoff a few times, being able to see a program get as high as it could with Brian Kelly. I think that he honestly put us at where he could get us.
yeah, he hit the ceiling. I agree with that.
And how the school operated. I think Freeman can actually bring us to a bigger height
Yeah,
with the types of players that he's bringing in, the commitment to him being in the gym. Like he does, like Brian Kelly wasn't going to step near a gym and work out or be around those players. He's day in, day out motivating, which I think we really need. And I wanted to ask you, probably you were a huge fan even before graduating in '87. What was that season like leading up to it? Did you see something special? Did you see
yeah,
the work that was being put in to get to that moment?
yeah. Before I answer that question, the end of my story on that wedding date was this is how old I am, Carter. That my all my groomsmen were Notre Dame guys, and they had Walkmen in the back of the church listening to that game, much to the chagrin of the wedding leadership. Anyway, that turned out to be a very, very great game, and then of course we won the championship. To answer your question, so I had four. If you were to talk to historians, I may have been an undergrad during the second, maybe the worst 4 years in the history of Notre Dame football.
My
Jerry
dad,
Faust there. I love Jerry Faust. Great guy. Not a great coach. Never a coach at Notre Dame. So when you're in the band, you have a particular interest because you want to go to a bowl game, you want to get a trip. And we pretty much got goose eggs. My freshman year, we went to the Aloha Bowl. They weren't going to take us to Hawaii on a limited budget, the marching band.
that would have been awesome. Yeah.
We protested the dome because we were young and thought that would be change their minds, and they kicked us out and said, "Go home." And we did not. The marching band did not get to march. Sophomore year, we went to the Liberty Bowl, which was fun. We were Doug Flutie in Boston College, except that it was 9 degrees and the musical instruments froze, and we couldn't play. And we marched, but we couldn't play. My junior year was horrible. Because we just, it was Jerry Faust last year and we were abysmal. And then we hired a speckly 5'6" scientist looking man named Lou Holtz. And we're all like, oh, geez, what's this guy going to do?
Yeah,
And
right.
so, of course, my senior year, he met our expectations and he was mediocre. And we thought, that's about what we expect. He's 5'6". I graduate, and I must have been the curse because after I graduate, we went on to the Orange Bowl in the national championship. And of course, is history. So I have a particular fascination, and happy to talk about this later, with the '88 team. And I've gotten to know at least 15 to 20 of those guys personally from the roster because I missed out. I was there as an alum, not as a marching band member. And I've gotten to know them through business, and some of them are my great friends. And from Tony Rice to Pat Terrell, Stan Smigala to Chris Zorich to Pat Eilers and Daryl Flash Gordon and on and on. And they were the greatest football roster in my lifetime because I'm biased. But they're also great men. And I'm actually writing a book that will come out sometime next year about that team and the players. And it's going to be legends on the field, leaders in life. It's about the men they've become since then. And I'm really excited about that. And I've actually interviewed 5 to 6 of them, and I've got about another 10 to go. So that's my little side hustle, midlife crisis.
That's incredible. I'll be sure to check out the book and also author Tom McCabe on the podcast. So I first off, I mean, let's get into a little bit of the podcast and what this means. And we got connected actually on LinkedIn, and this is the Notre Dame way. We've been able to. You saw a podcast or you saw a post that I'd made, and you were able to take a recording, and I reached out, and you were like, "I'm in." And to be able to just sit down with somebody and get an hour of their time or just a little bit more, it means the world. And that's the Notre Dame difference that has given me the opportunity to sit down with you here today. So with that, we talk a little bit, or I like to talk a little bit about luck management. So, um, the philosophy around luck management and the way that I've built it out and envisioned this podcast is it's the luck meets opportunity podcast. So, how are you optimizing and capitalizing on those chance events or opportunities? So, luck management, you may be put into that certain moment, you may be put into that favorable experience, but what strategies, what are you doing to adapt to the situation, and how are you preparing yourself to take on those risks? When you hear luck management, I mean, what pops into your mind? What is there anything that comes to you?
Sure. First of all, I'm a big proponent of it, which is why when I heard about this podcast, I said, giddy up, let's go, because I'm a big proponent of it. There's a few words I think of, not to overuse them: uh, serendipitous, happenstance, being at the right place at the right time. There's a few adages I live by, and I didn't coin these, but there were ones that I embraced, maybe as a pre Notre Dame teenager and throughout life. And I've tried to embolden these with my two daughters who are now in their 20s. And I think it's what's led me to, have a lot of important interactions and mentors in life. And they are, I'll just share them with you, a couple of them. These are like bulletin board Tom McCabe behind the laptop things when I was at Notre Dame and before. And one of them is enthusiasm is the greatest asset in the world. It beats power, money, and influence. I was born. I'm Irish German. It doesn't take a. I'm not a shy guy, as you
Uh-huh.
can tell. Yeah, as my wife likes to tell people, my husband talks to the wall, and the wall talks back. He talks too much. I'm a pretty extroverted guy, and
Like,
I was lucky enough to be an accounting major, not sales. I probably should have been selling, IBM copiers back in the 80s and 90s. But I have always lived life outside the box. I've always wanted, I'm a high energy guy. I'm a big guy, but I'm a high energy guy, and I like it. People, I love people. I learn from people. I grew up in a great town called Glassboro, New Jersey, throwback town with a great university. My dad was the mayor after he retired. My mom, they were very popular people, and I've just always learned that interaction with people brings joy to me. I love being around people. I love sharing experiences. I love mentors. I love learning from smart, great people because I'm not the smartest guy in the world.
yep.
And I've always taken that, and I lived by the values of my parents, who I consider disciples on
Hmm.
earth. May they rest in peace. They were my biggest influencers. And my mother used to say to me, life's a lot better. Treat people better than you expect to be treated yourself. I'm going to take a pause there. Treat people better than you expect to be treated yourself. And if you do, life will be rewarding. And I've always taken that. I treat everyone with purpose. I enjoy everyone I meet. I certainly have my enemies. I certainly have those that I've chosen not to recircle with. But I think because of luck, and I like to say I'm 50.001 Irish, but I'm not. I'm 50-50. But I'll go with the luck of the Irish, and the German side of me brings me other great traits. Um, I just enjoy life. I wake up in the morning, look at the ceiling, and thank God I'm alive. And I think back to soccer. I think back, well, am I alive? Well, I think back to my great philosophy class at Notre Dame. I think, therefore I am. I think I'm alive. Life's good. And I wake up with energy and purpose, and I try to make it a great day.
I love that enthusiasm aspect because anybody can get the skills. I mean, everyone has the opportunity to sit down in class and be able to learn these things or be able to have the opportunity to know in a sense how business works, but there is the difference of do you want to be around the person that wants to go in and day out and work with you instead of just working for you or because of you? No, there's the aspect of bringing that energy, and the harder you work, the luckier you are. And so I 100% believe in that. And I 100% see that energy and that excitement. That's something that has set me apart too. I realized that I am not the smartest one in the room, but you also realize that you don't have to be, and you have to work smart and not hard in
That's
those
right.
instances. And by being able to build those relationships and even have this podcast, this is a network building, conversational like ability for people to get a snippet of, hey, I was successful in business, or hey, I did this. How can people learn? That's how you share and build the network.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's no doubt about it. And I don't want to overstate the Notre Dame network, but I will. And I was lucky enough to go back to Philadelphia after I graduated, worked a couple of years, met some Notre Dame people, but I moved to Chicago, which is the epicenter for Notre Dame alums in the world. I forgot how many alums we have currently living in Chicagoland. I think it's like 12,000. And, I embraced that pretty quickly. I got active in the Chicago Alumni Club. You meet Notre Dame people just elbowing. I worked at Arthur Anderson, one of the great big accounting firms, which was Notre Dame heavy. When my wife and I moved to the northern suburbs, I joined and became active, and then eventually president of the Lake County Alumni Club. That ties me right back to the university. And
Hey,
the people you meet along the way are just these. I'm just a bean counter from Glassboro, New Jersey, who got lucky enough to go to a school in South Bend called
yep,
Notre Dame. I didn't go to Holy Cross or St. Mary's. And I was lucky enough to meet people along the way, like Jay Jordan, who's got his name on 4 buildings on campus, because Jay lived in Lake Forest and would help us fund the Glee Club and the band when they came in. And I got to meet people through happenstance, through serendipity, and put the name of this podcast, luck.
yep. Hey, that's luck management at its core. So the basis around this episode too is episode 60. I can't believe this. And I have just a couple facts about the number 60. So quickly, there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. But the way that we look at those 60 seconds and those 60 minutes is so far ranging. So a minute can feel like forever in high stress situations. It can also feel like the quickest instant. You look at your phone for a minute, 60 seconds goes by like that. And then in that end, 60 minutes can fly by in a heartbeat. And if you're having fun and you've lost track of time, 60 minutes is over. But I think when we look at 60, it's one of our true natures of time tracking and understanding that there really isn't that much time that we have. So you have to make the most out of it. You need to be able to take those opportunities and take those chances to be your best.
I like that. I think that's very true because as somebody just like you in business who has faced high pressure deal closes or transactions that can go awry or transactions that get closed and exceed your expectations, that 60 can feel like an eternity or it can feel like lickety split. And but those are important things. Time is important and time is measured, and time really impacts success and sometimes non-success with deadlines.
Yep. And as much as society has put us into, hey, you have to get it done within this sort of time frame, we know it was 60. We know we got 60 seconds in a minute, we got 60 minutes in an hour, and there's only so many hours in the day. So get going. I think Notre Dame teaches you like you don't have a whole lot of time on this earth to be able to go do good. So go do it as fast as you can, or do it and go find the right people to do it. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're speaking my language. That's my mantra. I don't know if I'll be on this earth. I'm almost 60, by the way.
yeah.
I'll be 60 in less than 2 years, and I don't know if God will let me physically be on this earth for another 2 years or another 32 years. But it'll probably be somewhere in between. I hope longer. But and I look at the successful people I've known who passed away, including my mom and dad and my father-in-law. Recently, a couple of years ago, lost a sister-in-law who inspired me. But it's not just the legacy of what you've accomplished or what you've wanted to do or the impact you've made or the people you've touched while you were physically on earth, but it's the memories and the legacy you leave behind. So I look at things like eternity. I do agree that it's a race to do anything I can while I'm physically able, or even when I'm not physically able, and I might be in a retirement home, talking to people and inspiring people. I think the thing that is most important to me, I would say the second place to what I'm going to say is Notre Dame winning a national championship that I can watch.
Obviously, never first.
That's
Never.
the second most important thing. The first most important thing is that I have developed trust and love and relationships with my family and friends, and I have a lot of great business friends, and that I can always, lean back on that as I move forward.
You can trust and know that the people have your back. That's incredible. Um, I I believe that I wouldn't be anywhere with my family, and um, they say, always stand by your family, but you do end up finding that you create your family with your friends and the people that you surround yourself with. And I think we both have that notion of being around Notre Dame and having that aspect of we have a good second family too that's at our backs. So
We do, and you know this being a fairly recent Mendoza grad, there's a lot of marketing and a lot of wordsmithing. Sometimes it makes me cringe a bit,
right.
but let me put an asterisk by that. With Notre Dame's great commercials, what are you fighting for, right? What are you doing? What are you doing to add purpose in the world? What are you adding to not think about yourself, but to think about others? To think about the great, JFK's line, ask not what you can do for yourself, but ask what you can do for your country. Ask not what you can do for yourself, but ask what you can do for Notre Dame. Ask not what you can do for yourself, but ask what you can do for humankind.
My name is Carter Loesch, and I am the inventor and creator of CharmND and CharmU Enterprises. I graduated from the University of Notre Dame this past year. I was in the Master's of Science in Management program over at Mendoza Business School, and I loved my time at Notre Dame. My father went here. My brother is currently an MBA student at Notre Dame, and I was just back for the USC game. But I live and breathe Notre Dame. And what I wanted to do and what I saw was I love the shirts that I wear. I love the Notre Dame hats. I love the Notre Dame swag that everybody wears. But I didn't see a need or a feel where people could actually hold a piece of Notre Dame. And the concept came up where I wanted to create keychains, necklaces, bracelets, earrings that you can actually hold a tangible piece of Notre Dame tradition based on their sports teams, based on campus wide. I believe that Notre Dame has a special opportunity and expanding into other universities an even bigger opportunity. So I want to show you one of these keychains that I created. This one has 24 karat gold flakes, AstroTurf pellets from Notre Dame Stadium's football field, and wood shavings from the old seats of Notre Dame. It also has a helmet that is painted with the same gold that they use on the Notre Dame football helmets. I have a partnership with Finish Line Industries that actually paints the helmets. But there are too many places in the world where people love their universities, but they don't get to actually hold and have a real feel of what's in front of them. I want to be able to expand not only through Notre Dame and the beautiful tradition and love for university here in selling these keychains, necklaces, earrings, but the idea and concept is that you move to these large scale, big universities with huge university pride. So you have USC, you have Michigan, you have University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And what you do is you get a special piece from every campus. You get water from a fountain, you get the soil from campus. And what you do is you put them into these charms where people can feel the nostalgia and the love for the university tradition. This is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful idea to be able to bring the university to your home for any fan, alumni, or student as it is. But this is an opportunity where we can have an impact on building the camaraderie and love for school. So go Irish and go CharmND.
Notre Dame really, really inspires that. And some people might call it schmaltzy, but we walk the walk.
Right.
When I look at my daughter's friends and classmates and what they've gone on to do in their early 20s, people like you, I'm inspired about the future. Because I can tell you, when I graduated, I didn't have those values and ideals. I wanted a job and to make a lot of money and for Notre Dame to win another championship. Well, hopefully I matured beyond that, but I'm inspired by the great people I meet at Notre Dame and beyond Notre Dame as well. Just so happens my core connectivity and friends happen to be a lot of Notre Dame people.
Well, I think we're on our way to the championship, and I think you're different lives. So,
Excuse me. 1 second, Connor.
yeah.
Just so happens the landscaper's walking by.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'll be able to just like edit and cut that out. So,
All right,
no.
go ahead.
So the next thing we like to move into, and we'll get this quickly because I want to get into some of the questions and understanding more of your background. First, a little fun fact of the day. In a group of 23 people, there's more than a 50% chance that two of them share a birthday. And with a group of 57 people, there's a 99% probability that you share a birthday. So when's your birthday?
July 10th.
July 10th. Okay, I'm November 21st. That's crazy to think that if you're in a room of 57 people, there's almost 100% possibility that you share the same birthday. I gotta test that somehow, some way.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about that? We're often in a room with people, but we don't all blurt out, "What's your birthday?" So you don't know. We've often maybe we've been on a flight next to someone we share a birthday, but you don't say. It's kind of creepy, to say, "Hey, when's your birthday?" if you don't know somebody. But I will tell you, I always thought about this when I meet people and I do know their birthday. I've thought about if your birthday is near mine and you're a Cancer like me. I've tried to keep a rough count. I've met 6 people who share a birthday with me, July 10th.
That's awesome.
One of them happens to be the son of one of my best friends from Notre Dame, who's also a Notre Dame grad, who also was in the marching band. So we always text each other, and I always tell Patrick Falvey, class of 2000, maybe 2019, I say, "I hope you're famous someday, so you make my birthday a holiday."
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen.
Maybe it needs a little bit of time a week after July 4th,
Yeah,
right?
because my window's ended. I will not be president of the United States, nor any dignitary that will make it a holiday on July 10th, but Patrick has a chance.
Anything can happen. So, all right, cool. Next thing we like to do is just highs of the week. So this actually started when I was younger. My mom and dad, like we would sit down for dinner. We'd always be like, "So, what was your high of the day?" Or like, what was something that brought you energy and excitement? What was there any highs of the week for you, or anything that's been exciting for you?
Yeah, here we are in the middle of the week. So, I'll stretch it back to the weekend. Maybe I'll go back 6 days. I would say professionally, given that I do consulting, it's landing a new engagement that I find challenging, fun. I love, I'll do an engagement with people I don't particularly connect with or like, but it's a lot more fun when I like the person, I believe in what they're doing, and I want to help them. So I just picked up a new client that I'm kicking off by meeting them in Chicago. They happen to be based in Tampa. I'll be meeting them in Chicago Thursday and Friday this week. And that was really a high because it's, when you start a project, it's like anything else. You don't know where it's going to go. My projects are very ebb and flow. They can be straight on 3 to 4 weeks out, maybe less, or they can be, 1 week hot and then we go away for a bit and come back. So that was pretty exciting. Looking forward to that. And then, I can't say there was any high about Notre Dame football other than we didn't lose. That was great. We didn't lose.
Yeah, we needed a break. I think.
Yeah, and listen, I am a big, obviously Notre Dame football fan. In fact, I'm in my home office, and down in my basement, I have a room that is literally a mini museum of Notre Dame football, mostly 80s and 90s stuff.
Uh-huh.
Signed by my friends, helmets. I've got a couple pre-80s that I'm really proud of, like a Joe Montana signed helmet.
Wow.
I've got Tim Brown. But what I was going to say is my love for Notre Dame obviously is at a high level, but it's not just football. I'm a big fan of the basketball team. I'm going to miss Mike Bray. excited for the new coach. Love the women's basketball team, ice hockey. I've had friends whose children have been full scholarship players on the women's soccer team and the lacrosse team. It's fun to watch them. So, long story short, even though we were off, I'll find a way to watch Notre Dame sports online. That's always a high for me. And I think the most important thing is getting to connect with my family, which I'll do later this week. And then be a part of my extended family. My best friend's son getting married this weekend will be fun. That'll be a high down in Indianapolis.
Beautiful. I think you are going to have a great time down there. Hopefully the weather stays pretty nice. I know fall's kind of coming in, and before this cold sweep starts coming, that's going to be crazy. In terms of the consulting world and getting a new client, I'm in consulting, so I work for a company called Alliant Group, and they do tax advisory and consulting. But previously I worked for healthcare revenue cycle consulting, and you talk about that new project coming, new fresh blood. You really don't know what's coming until you sit down with them. You might have like a defined product on what you can provide, but every single business owner has their own idea of what success means. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about how you get to that level of like, what does success mean for you, and what does success mean for the company?
Yeah, no, that's a great loaded question. I'll break it down a bit. At a high level, if I was to answer that succinctly, given that my background is as a chief financial officer, so everything is about, finance and stakeholders, I always lead, and let me preface this by saying with ethics and morals, that my number one job is to make them financially successful. So I do a lot of things. I have a couple friends that call me a boomerang or a barbell consultant because I don't work with normal businesses. I don't know what normal is. I don't know if there is a normal, but if there is, I haven't worked there. Most of my work over the last 20 years has been with highly distressed, stressed companies underperforming, where on a good day, I'm doing a performance improvement and profit improvement consulting project. On a tough day, I'm saving a company from bankruptcy, trying to turn it around, keep it viable. I love that work. I love the challenge. It's in my DNA. I don't think I'd be happy being a corner office green visor CFO, just 8 to 5, lickety split, closing the books and doing that. So I like that. The other side is I've done a lot of early stage technology interim CFO work. I was a senior financial executive at Cars.com in its early days, Apartments.com, a SaaS company that then was later acquired by Salesforce. So that's what I meant by boomerang barbell. And the boomerang is I work with you early stage, and either you go away because things don't go well, and if they don't go really well, you boomerang back, and I help save you later in your
Yeah,
business lifetime. One of
useful.
my good friends came up with that. He calls me Boomerang Tom. I don't know. I don't think I'll put it on my business card, but it's fun to talk about.
When you go
And
to
then, but to answer your question, success to me is when a client continues to recurring need my implementation and advice, right? A lot of times when you're helping somebody struggling, they don't want to know what they don't want to know. But I have to go in and connect with them and find a connection, whether that's getting to know them and talking about their kids and knowing that you have to build a trust and a rapport. You can't go in with a playbook and a game plan. You got to listen. You have to listen and react and connect because you need them and you need their team. Success is having milestones, trying to achieve them. But I'll tell you, the greatest lesson you can learn as a young consultant, every time you go into a project, whether it's at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., or whatever, you go in with a playbook and a to-do list, and it changes within minutes. You've got to be flexible and move along with, and there's an old adage, what's important now? And that's what you have to learn, especially in my world of distress, when companies may have weeks or months to survive, to keep their bank loan. I've got to move quick and do what's important, not what I think's important, not what the client thinks important. What's important to keep the client viable? Sometimes you got to roll your sleeves up and do dirty work. So success is keeping companies viable, keeping their stakeholders happy, whether it's a business owner, a family, or there's outside shareholders. And I've worked on publicly traded companies, private companies, family offices, venture capital best, private equity backed. companies in foreclosure, companies in bankruptcy, companies in pre and post bankruptcy. So I've seen pretty much it all. And the
Ayo, welcome back to the Luck Management Podcast. We are continuing episode 60 with Tom McCabe here. Tom, you were talking a little bit about definition of success, and I think we broke down a little bit on what success and how success is determined, not for you, but it's how you were able to serve the customer. I think I've seen that time and time again. You throw out the playbook, like as much training as you can get, as much as you need to know what is laid out in front of you or what your capacities are, you need to be able to adapt. And I think that also comes to you got lucky enough to be put into that situation. What's the hard work and everything that you're putting in? How are you defining that luck management style? So, is there anything else you wanted to highlight right there before we got?
I just thought I'd sum that up by saying, in the end, how do you measure success? Because we're focused on, at the moment, professional business. You can go in with a game plan and a playbook. And if you're an auditor or a tax professional or like you and I, maybe just consultants, it's not about implementing what you think is best. It's about having a playbook that has flexibility, getting buy-in, because you're always going to need other people to join you on the other side, your own teammates, outside third-party people, to understand that you're all moving in the same direction. Not to sound like a football coach, but it's the same analogy.
Right.
And success is achieving the best you can with what you have and trying to keep the needle moving forward. To me, look, when you're in my world, sometimes you save companies, sometimes you can't. And it's the challenge of a surgeon in an operating room. A lifeline surgeon doesn't bat 1,000, but they do the best they can with the resources they have. And that's how I look at it in business. And I've had a lot of successes, and you learn and you move on.
Yeah, you're talking about those successes and things not always working. Can you talk to me a little bit, maybe about a time, and you don't have to get into exact company specifics, but where
Sure.
was a failure or there were struggles and what you learned from that experience?
The common thread when I probably worked on, I don't know how many, let's just say hundreds of projects, small to large, over my 35-year-ish career. The common thread for success is usually not necessarily implementing my playbook successfully or having the financial viability to save a company. It's getting the client and the client's team and your own team, and it could be a 2 to 10 person consulting team, to work in the same direction and to try to know what's important now. And let me tell you that, just to sum it up, it's usually not necessarily the operations of the company that will determine whether we're successful or not. It's the leadership of the company executing with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because we have a supply chain problem. It's not because the lender won't give us more money. It's not because we lost our largest client. It's because the executive team has taken their eye off the ball and they won't execute with you. When I can get buy-in and build trust and confidence with the people, I have an exponentially greater chance of survival and achievement. And there's always a little bit of luck.
There's a little bit of luck. So on that, how many companies have you worked with or people or building relationships? Has it been immediate, like, hey, we're ready to give you the reins, let's do this? And then what percentage do you have to work maybe a little bit? And then what percentage are you working your tail off just to be able to just have a breakfast with them and just get on the same level?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I mentor a lot of young consultants, and they could be, the smartest consultants in the world out of Mendoza or Harvard or somewhere else. And, there's just a lot of things besides academics, education, and theory. First of all, you don't go in like a bull in a china shop. You've got to develop a rapport and a trust with the client, all levels, whether it's a CEO, CFO, or the lowest level clerical person, because you're going to need all of them.
Yep.
And you the first thing you do before you get into the quants or the theory or the this or the that, or in my case, working on the financial projections, cash flow of the company, you've got to build a rapport. And if you don't do that, you've lost them from the beginning. I have an old joke that I interview everybody pretty quickly, gather information. You'll do it separate, you'll do it in teams. Doing it separate's good because then I feel like I'm like a detective. I get, I can play them off each other and tell who's telling the truth and who's blowing smoke. Uh, you know, and I have an old joke that comes to fruition occasionally. Team, and they're always the know-it-alls, and they give me their answers and their theories, and then they go home at 4 o'clock to have dinner with the kids or go golfing. And then the mid-level and lower people who have to work their tails off,
Yep.
I get them pizza and beer, and they give me the real answers because they're pissed off they didn't get a bonus, and they're just ready to give me the real answers because the executives are blowing smoke to make themselves look good to maintain their bonus. It's a joke, but there's some truth to that. And so I do circular interviewing. I talk to everybody, and I just think that it's critical to do that.
Yep. Yep. I think getting an in-depth view. So what I do is I work on research and development, and
Okay.
one of the requirements there is like you're working with these companies that are trying to get back tax credits from the U.S. government. And honestly, that's where the government is making its money. And so you need to be able to talk to people that have real in-depth experience on the research and development. You can't just talk to a CEO because they're going to be like, oh yeah, I do a 50% on research and development. It's like, who else is running the business? Who else is actually involved in the real work? And so you want to be able to talk to those people that can actually pinpoint some of those
That's
issues
right.
and those problems that you're getting towards. Um, Now, it may take some teeth pulling. It may take a long, arduous process, but at the same point, once you get there and you can establish that level of truth or that level of trust, you do start to see those changes and you become the boomerang, right? Like people will come back, or we like to call it evergreen clients. They like to come back around to you.
Totally. No, I think that's well said, Carter. And one thing in particular you said is that you get the answers from, I'll say, the main senior people. The reason why you have to talk to the others, you got to validate what they're saying. It's your credibility as a consultant, and if you can't get to the real, it's on you as the paid consultant. So by interviewing or talking to few people, you're validating what the person may have said, which is either has credibility and you need affirmation. That's what you need.
100%. Yep. That's that's somebody's style too, right? Some people can just do the work and boom, you move on. They answer some questions. You got what you needed from them. Some people need to be. Everyone has a different learning style, and some needs to be massaged more than others.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Look, some people align with you quickly, and you feel like, I found my hero. I'm going to be a success in this project. Some people need coddling, and they're intimidated by you. They're uh, they're very they're introverted, and it's hard to get to them, even though you need them. So that gets back to being able to find a connection with all levels of people, one way or another.
Partially why you are successful in that spot because you can pull out that energy and you can get and generate an excitement that maybe somebody else couldn't. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, I I recognize that, and we've kind of come around in a circle of like this idea of normal, right? This You said you've never lived a normal life. In my instance, I don't think I've lived a normal life, and like this whole definition and even in just US society, we've created this structure of what a normal life is, right? Like you go to school, you get your job, you work, and then hopefully you build a family and things like that. But you start to see this track where everybody thinks it's just like this. And you look at the stock market and it ends up always going up. Yes, but you kind of forget about the dips or the challenges or the issues. And you need to have those. I heard a story, if you're in a hospital, God forbid, if it's going up and down, that means you're living, right? that means that you are experiencing life. That means you're fine. But if you're flatlining, that's where the issues come in. That's when you got to call it.
Yeah.
That's
No,
when you.
I think that's a great analogy.
Ayo, this episode is sponsored and brought to you by Charm ND. Charm ND specializes in creating unique and authentic sterling silver vials and real items from around the Notre Dame campus. Each charm is carefully handmade and contains a little piece of the Fighting Irish spirit. Vials filled with dirt from the iconic main quad, pellets from the hollowed ground of the Notre Dame football stadium, wood shavings from the seats of the stadium, 24-karat golds from the Notre Dame football helmets, water from the serene St. Joseph's Lake, candle wax from the peaceful grotto, water from the Notre Dame reflecting pond, and holy water for added blessings. Charms are priced at between $20 and $30 and can be customized to your needs as a necklace or a lucky charm. Check us out at charm_ND at Instagram. Our charms are a perfect gift for any Notre Dame fan or alum. So go Charm ND and go Irish. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah. Let me make a comment about that. I've been married almost 35 years, Thanksgiving weekend. Why my wife chooses to stay married to me. Every time I come home, I expect duffel bags at the curb after 34 years plus of marriage, but I'm blessed that we're still married. And I got lucky on the marching band field in 1984. I've raised two beautiful, smart, intelligent daughters that give back more to the world than they expect. My older daughter has got a master's in special ed. She'd like to go to law school and be an advocate for special needs people. It makes me feel like what I do for a living is not as important. She's doing great. My other daughter has a neuroscience degree from Notre Dame, and she's getting a master's at Loyola now in neuroscience and data analytics, and wants to help scientists figure out how to do things better, or pharma companies. That's my core. That's my being. Everything I am is because of my parents and God, but everything I've become is because of my wife and my parents. What I was going to say, though, outside that, I feel like outside of my family, I'm living my best life. I love, the people that my friends. I love waking up and having interaction. There are people that say, "Oh, I didn't do anything this weekend. I sat around doing nothing." To me, that's the last thing I want to do. Giddy up. I want to go meet people and live life. And so I do that as beyond my family. And I love interacting with people, and that's what makes me happy. But more importantly, it's what makes me thrive and look forward to the next day.
It's beautiful. In terms of that optimism and that excitement to get up and get going, you said it fuels you, it drives you. For the listeners, or even just anybody that ever, may have that excitement or may be able to love life, have there ever been any moments where it's like, all right, I'm struggling through this? Like, how do you bounce back?
Sure. That's great. Listen, I don't care who you are living your best life today, or someone who says I've had a best life forever. We've all had adversity. We've all had challenges. My lowest moments, probably thus far, knock on wood, have been, I'm a mama's boy and a dad's boy. I have two older sisters. I'm much younger. So I feel in some ways I was raised as an only child. But watching my parents struggle at the end of their lives, because they were my best friends. I was very close. And so my lowest points by far, and my wife and daughters would concur with that, would be going through the toughness of watching them leave. But what inspired me, and they were both had leukemia. My dad had pretty much every organized body operated, and I was flying back and forth to Philadelphia for years. I lost dad about 5 years ago, mom about 7 years ago. But you know what inspired me to get through that after before they died, when they died, and shortly after they died? They both were devout Catholics who like me, had a great spirit to be on earth. And they would always say to me, "Don't fear death. We believe our spirit will be left behind." And so what helped me get through that toughest time was knowing that their legacy lives on, their spirit, through me, through my daughters, through my wife, through their friends. And so that's how I got through. That was by far my toughest time. Now, professionally, it's not a roller coaster for me. It's a loop-de-loop roller coaster of amusement park rides, because
Yeah.
I live highs, low. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about there. I don't know what flatline means in business. I have no idea what achieving a budget means. I have no idea what, getting a budget to balance means. I either see really high or really low. 90% of the time I'm seeing really low because I work with distressed and stressed companies.
Mhm.
But no matter how low they go, and professionally, I can feel badly when we have a sunk, in accounting, there's sunk costs, but professionally, there's a sunk project where you just can't figure out how to get them back to profitability. You've squeezed the lemon, or I like to say, grind the rind, and there's nothing left. But you may have something left. You may have an asset. You may have an intellectual property. You may have something worth something. I'm always fighting that fight for my clients. And that's how I look at it. Back to like the lowest low professionally, when we don't have a successful outcome, and it happens, and I have to put it into bankruptcy, or I have to sell the assets, or God forbid, tell the business owner we have to wind it down and liquidate it. It happens. It's real world. It's real life.
Yeah.
You push forward, you've done the best you can. And that's how I get through those tough times.
Right. There's this notion, someone told me like a successful and a happy life isn't just being happy or being able to be, recognize that. It's like how you're actually going to bring your approach to it because, you know, 10%, like it's just about being there, but like what are you doing in those moments? Or how
Yeah.
are you optimizing an actual change to make a difference? I really do appreciate that aspect, and see that your successes and your failures will come, but what are you doing that next day to either compound or sit on it. So I appreciate
No,
that.
I think that's spot on, Carter. If I could sum this up, one more thing I think about, it sounds so simple and so basic. Um, Oddly, I was a little bit of an athlete, but I was really more of a musician and an actor in high school, and went on to be a trombonist, very successful musician, not as successful as my wife and daughters. But I was an actor in high school, and I had to lead in a couple plays, and that allowed me a lot of great things, to be comfortable in front of people. I'm comfortable talking to you, I'm comfortable talking to the mailman, and I'm comfortable talking in front of 5,000 people, which I've done before. Um, but what I've learned in life through my parents and my wife and daughters, and good mentors, is be true to yourself, be transparent, and be yourself. And if there's one thing I've learned quickly when I meet people, and I know how to read a room when I go in as a consultant, is I get people to be real with me. No acting, no faking, no embellishing, no drama. There's one, I would never get a tattoo, but if I did in business, it would be no drama. Because let's get real. Let's and if I could give you, Carter, young Notre Dame Mendoza grad, who has a great tomorrow to look forward to, next week in life, it's be true to yourself and be you. Be your best you. Don't be something someone else thinks you should be. Be you. I've tried to live that to the best of my ability, and I think that's why I can look back and say I've had ups and downs. I've done bad things, good things. I've had successes, but I've always been true to myself. I've always been me.
That is something that is beautiful in one sense, but I think at one point it can be hard because a lot of people are still working to find who they are.
That's a
And
great point. It's a good
I
point.
think one thing that you also put on though is that you have been continually define who you are, right? It's not like you wake up one day and you say, "This is me." Of course, you need to have your core values, and that's what you're aspiring to build. But like, it's a journey. It's each day. Like you are still probably becoming you today,
I
tomorrow.
love that. No, listen, not to get schmaltzy with you, yeah, but being you, being the real you, and being your best is definitely a perpetual journey, not a destination.
Yep. Yep. 100%. So shifting a little bit, you talked about how you're involved with the Notre Dame Idea Center. And I think that the Idea Center is the best kept secret on Notre Dame, even though it's getting larger and growing.
Yeah.
I have two businesses that I even pitched into the McCloskey Venture competition. So if you see those, the first one is Charm ND. I know you said you listened to the last podcast. We sell like these little lucky charms based off of Notre Dame's campus. You know,
Beautiful.
they have pieces from, the football stadium and
I know where I'm doing my Christmas shopping now.
hey, come to Charm ND. Love the Charm ND. Um, and then another business that I'm doing. But can you talk to me
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
being in at the Idea Center,
Yeah.
where entrepreneurs can really start to continue to build
Yeah.
their.
Listen, I'm a big fan and big supporter. I've tried to get back to the university as much as I can. I think the biggest gift I give was giving my daughter, who graduated from there, and love that experience. But given that I was involved in Chicago technology back in the '90s and was a big believer in the importance of early stage entrepreneurship, I had always felt before the Idea Center was formed that Notre Dame was a little lackluster, frankly, and a lot of competing universities were emerging and exceeding what Notre Dame was doing. So when they finally decided to roll the dice, they hired a team of people from Utah who were doing it successfully at the University of Utah. I won't name the names on this now, and two of the three key people have moved on. And they built that beautiful building, and more importantly, the university invested heavily.
Yep.
And I was there in the early days, just coaching some of the young companies, and that's ebb and flow. I've helped out for a couple of years, and I'll go away a couple of years, but I've always watched closely the success. We've had some real successful exits out of there. Resonado, which was run by a guy named Brian Cho, which was a convertible speaker company. And I got to know Brian and did some mentoring with him. And I can name maybe 8 to 10 over the years I've worked with more personally, as opposed to just hearing a pitch. Right now, I'm working with one I'm very, very excited about called Glyphix. The technology came actually funded by Jordan Companies, and it's basically a way to bifurcate coding, and it's a great company led by a Mendoza MBA named Danny Hill, and I'm helping them out as a part-time CFO, and it's fun, it's energizing, and we'll see what happens there. And I'm watching a few others very closely as a potential supporter helper. There's a rideshare company called Rides for You that just kicked off. Some people would say we need another Lyft or Uber. This one, having two daughters, I'm very excited about this one because it brings safety to everything they do. Anyway, I'm a huge. We need this. Notre Dame has been sitting on intellectual property forever in the College of Engineering, the College of Science. We never did anything with it except let professors get attaboys. Now we're finding ways to commercialize it, and I'm just couldn't be more proud. But we got to keep fighting the fight and keep helping to bring success to the Idea Center.
I agree. I think that at one moment there was an issue of being like, oh, is it good to commercialize it? Because in America, everything can seem super capitalistic and you're just doing it for business. But that ultimate shift of Notre Dame saying, hey, let's do it for the right reasons and let's invest in things that are actually changing the world in a better way moving forward. I think that allows and gives Notre Dame an angle that other companies, other universities don't have the opportunity to do. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and believe me, Notre Dame's leadership and the people running the Idea Center and the outside people who influence it won't compromise the values and ideals and the greatness of Notre Dame in order to make a dollar. But you can have all of those, the foundation of all of that, and still have some really, really great, fun, kick-ass companies come out of there. And that's the real reward.
and one other aspect I really like about it too is that no idea too small can go in there. I think a lot of people are defined and look at success as making $1 million company, there are some really small ideas that fit some niche areas, and they may not define your career, but being able to bring those forward, there is an attitude and an atmosphere where you can do that.
That Carter, I think you're spot on. There's a great book that a lot of business people read. Maybe you had to read it while you're in Mendoza, called Good to Great. And the theory is a little, of course, everything should be good to great. But the message I take from that is you can be underperforming, but if 1 week later you've made another dollar, you've gone from good to better, or better to, great, or great to excellent. And so to your point, whether it's a young man or young lady in a garage in Mishawaka, Indiana, who has an idea to either sell lemonade, charms, or widgets, and they can find someone to pay them for that, that's success. It's
Yeah.
not a hobby, it's a transaction.
Mhm.
And to your point, whether they make $1 or $1 billion, it's pretty cool to watch.
We need more entrepreneurism. Of course, we have plenty of jobs that we need to fill, and every business is feeling that in the moment, getting good people. But this idea of coming up with an invention or something to provide is something that's right up my alley. I mean, that's why I started this podcast. It's why I have a couple of these small businesses. I love that thing, and I think everybody should work in a small company or like a startup and see those challenges because it gives you every single aspect of your growth.
Sure.
That's um that's
Well,
cool. So,
keep at it. Keep at it, Carter. I look forward to seeing you build a great company and find an exit someday. Maybe
ah,
maybe I'll be lucky enough to be an investor.
hey, maybe one day we'll we'll talk offline.
Maybe I'll be your fractional CFO and I'll be working for you, Carter.
Hey, I'd be so lucky. So we haven't even been able to get into so many of the questions just because it's been a great flow of conversation. But I wanted to highlight a few ones that I think the listeners love to hear, but also I think would be really cool to hear about you. So what is something that is core to you? Fully and unequivocally, I know you speak about your people person centric attitude, but what do you think makes you you?
I would say, and we both alluded to this a few minutes ago, being true to myself and finding the joy in the moment each day. I really, when I meet people, look, I'm an Irish German. I got a temper. I don't know if it's the Irish side or the German side. I have bad days. I have
Both.
bad moments. I have bad interactions. But the majority of the time, 90% of the time plus, I really enjoy interaction with people. So, the core would be uh, living my best life in the moment, despite all of the evils and negatives and adversities and demons that might come. Just fight the fight and get through the moment.
I love it. Cool. Um, in terms of that, being able to see that you've been able to accomplish a great deal in your life. What's on the bucket list items as you move through your career, as you move through, having a family? What else is something? What else do you want to accomplish in this world?
Yeah, not to sound, esoteric and schmaltzy, but just to get look, I'm on the latter half of my life, not like you on the upside. So just being able to interact and make an impact on people, mentor people, being the best husband I can be to my wife, being the best father to my daughters, being the best father-in-law to my new son-in-law. And watching, and my family, of course, is the core of my existence and my being, and I love them very much. But also, I like what I do, and I don't know if I'll be able to do this until I'm in my deathbed, but I'll try. That's the beauty of Wi-Fi, right? In the old days, you had to have feet to go to a client. I like what I do professionally, but I would say bucket list things. I have traveled. I put on a lot of miles. When you're a consultant, you travel the country. I've been to every major city. I know more Hampton Inns in the Midwest, in the middle of nowhere, that support
Uh,
widget companies than anybody. I'm a Hilton Diamond. I haven't been able to travel outside of the U.S. though, And I've had a couple business trips to
Ever
Europe many
before?
times. And so bucket list would be travel and see the world. You know, I watch a lot of documentaries and things, and so I'd love to be able to travel, see the world, see cultures, experience cultures. And I'd say, I'll leave you on this note, on this issue. I would really like, not from heaven or purgatory. I don't know if I'll be in heaven or purgatory. I might be in purgatory a long time. To watch one more Notre Dame national championship. It would be really nice.
That is on my bucket list as well. That is up near the top, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, travel would be incredible for you. I've been lucky enough in being able to study abroad. It's a whole different range. Like younger people didn't have the opportunity before, but now I've been given a great opportunity to be able to go do that. So that's going to be cool. Maybe you get to Ireland and then you bounce on over to Germany. I studied abroad in Berlin, so I
There
love
you go. Yeah, and in the last 10 years, I was lucky enough to get to Germany and visit my mother's ancestors' hometown outside of Frankfurt. I've not been to Ireland, which is so ironic because my parents have been there so many times, and my family's from County Monaghan. I think when I do that, I'm taking a month. I'm renting a car by myself. I'm gonna have a backpack, and I'm just gonna go meet the people. And then after that, my other bucket list is to go to Iceland and go into the waters where it's 30 below and just float.
I am a huge proponent of the cold plunge. So Wim Hof, if you ever heard of him,
There you go.
does all those. That's so cool. All right,
Yeah.
shifting now. If you were to be instituted the president, it could be serious, it could be silly. What would be one executive order you would instill on the country?
Well, um, on the one hand, you know, there's an old program that says the government gives out a lot of cheese. I would give bacon to all. I think bacon should be in everyone's diet and life because I
Good,
think it's the
good choice.
best food. I mean, anybody that knocks a pig and what comes and what can be, you know, taken out of that pig and made into bacon, I think bacon should be the natural ingredient. With all my due respect to my vegan and vegetarian friends.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah.
on a serious note, I would say, boy, man, you've gone deep on me, Carter. I need to process that for about 6.5 seconds. I would say, um, you know, I grew up in a very working class town that was on the fringe of farming. My dad grew up with nothing. My dad, you know, big Irish family from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. My mom grew up on a farm in Southeast Ohio, not far from where Lou Holtz grew up. And I'm just a big believer in, it's odd because politically I'm a Republican capitalist, Reagan
Mhm.
era, you know, it's just who I am. Uh, but socially, I'm just really into finding common ground for all people. So,
Great.
you know, this isn't a Democrat platform, Republican platform answer, but finding a way for uniformity. You know, in my business world, on the tax side, I still think it's a very unfair. I think our current tax platform is so wrong and misunderstood and upside down. Not to get into that, but I just, you know, we have such disparity in this country. Finding a way that we can all be all for one and one for all. I don't know what that decree would be. You
Right.
know, you've challenged me to come up with but I don't like the disharmony that we're now feeling and seeing. And I'm living that through your generation, my daughters and what their friends are doing. Look, that ship has sailed for me. No one's going to change me at this point. Yeah, my values are intact.
Yeah.
But I'm a patriot. You know, my dad was a patriot. I love this country. I really am. And I just wish that I could find a decree that would make this country, you know, I want the people who live here to be proud to be here. And a lot of the people I know don't want to be here,
I know.
you know, and they'll threaten and say, I'll go to Canada or I'll go to Mexico or I'll go, you know what, go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Thanks for being here. Give me your birth certificate. I'll shred it and goodbye.
Yeah.
That's kind of, enjoy and embrace being in this country because we're the luckiest people on earth.
I know. I think so many people look outward to fill their needs, and that's, in personal life or whatever. But when you look at this country, what it has defined and what it has built is something that is truly beautiful. We're not perfect, but at the end of the day, if
Yeah.
you really look at the work and the champion nature of this country, we've done some incredible,
Yeah.
amazing.
And by the way, I'm highly disappointed because I didn't answer your question, but give me a bogey on that one because I can't come up with a decree, but I give you a soliloquy to support my purported decree that I'll come up with someday.
Hey, you said you were never going to be president. I don't know. That's a good message to run on.
It's too late now. I don't want to be like Joe Biden and be that old guy that everybody wants out of office.
You'd be older. You'd be younger. You'd be a spring
That's
chicken in
true. Yeah.
comparison to the last
All
one.
right, Carter. I would like you to resign from this podcast and be my campaign manager starting tomorrow.
All right. All right, Luckies. Hey, I got to take a little break. Yeah, we're bringing it in.
There you go. You get $1 a day until I get elected.
All right. I got something to work towards.
Lots of benefits, though.
All right. So, last question I want to ask, and you've been in the accounting world and you've seen businesses, but on a personal nature for people that are dealing with finances every single day, do you have any sort of advice of financial literacy for people?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially because I have worked for billionaires, literally. And I've worked for people who have built great businesses and experienced wealth, but are ready to lose everything, you know, and everything in between. And if there's one thing I would say, one mantra to live by, live your best life with what resources you have, but live within your means. Because most of the work I do is because people have, it's one thing to push the envelope and mortgage your home and maximize your credit cards to live your best life. But I've seen people go beyond that and do a lot of, sometimes in the world I work in, there's fraud,
Bonehead moves.
bad people doing bad things. I've seen a lot, man. I have seen Ukrainians try to move cash through O'Hare Airport. I see a lot of crazy stuff.
Wow.
But so the simple message for, is live your best life with the resources you have. And if not, and if you want to experience something greater, just go find a way to make more money or cut your costs. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple.
I love that. I think so many people try and get outward. They're always trying to look for the next thing. It's like, fit to your core, maybe do something that helps you on the side, but establish yourself and learn.
Let me say one more thing on that. I have friends who are multimillionaires, financially set for life. They're living off, their success or an estate or a trust. I will tell you right now, they say money buys happiness. There is nothing farther from the truth.
I agree.
Some of the people are very happy. I know a lot of people who are financially highly successful who at their core are not happy. And so the message there is, you want to be financially successful to achieve the best life you want to achieve. If you're happy driving a Honda Accord, that's your best life. If you want to drive a Lamborghini, go find a way to finance the Lamborghini. It's what you want, not what the next guy or the next gal has. What do you want?
Hey, that goes back to your definition of be you.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. Well, that is all the questions that I have for the Luck Management Podcast today. Tom, this has been a conversation that's flown by so quickly. I can't believe we're already like an hour and 20 in. But I wanted to just say thank you so much for coming on here. People are going to love this, and just appreciate you being able to take the time.
I'm happy to do it, Carter, and I want to wish you the best. This is a fun thing you're doing. I wish I would have thought of this when I was your age, because it's a lot of fun, and you're gonna gain more out of this from the others than you're putting into it. It's going to be very rewarding for you, and along the way, you're going to find some luck and happenstance and serendipitous moments. And I've enjoyed doing this. I have no idea if if you and I and your family and my family will be the only people to watch it, but if we can, if one or more people can find something, a learning experience or a joy from this, then we've accomplished something today.
Yes, we have. I love it. So wherever you listen, Apple or Spotify, we're also available on YouTube. Keep living the luck management lifestyle. Peace.